Hey, welcome back to the Caribou Data Science channel on YouTube. This is, of course, December 31st, New Year's Eve, and you're 15 minutes away from the final live stream of 2022. And of course, what a year it has been, right? What a year it's been. Nonetheless, sit back, relax, we'll be back with you folks in about 15 minutes. Hey, okay, welcome back to the Caribou Data Science channel. Let's just switch our screens here. Here we go. All right. Well, hopefully the year's going to end with an Ohio State Buckeye uh, victory in the Peach Bowl, which will catapult them into the national championship game. Michigan, who was rated number 2 in the world, number 2 in the football world at the end of the season, lost narrowly to who it was they were playing. I don't remember who it was. Let's check the score for the Ohio State game. What's the score at the Peach Bowl? Okay, there you have it. Ohio State's lead in Georgia, 28-24 at halftime. So it looked like both Michigan and Ohio State are playing good. This is the only question: can Ohio State make up for its loss to Michigan by playing in the national championship game? Okay. Highlight of my season this year was, of course, continued growth working with tools like SQL, Python, or SQL, little Python, R programming, uh, Power BI, and most recently near the end of the year, I got for some reason I got interested in Fortran programming. Okay, but anyway, let's just wrap up the year with a little bit of Power BI. I'm thinking. Okay, let's just come over here. So what I did was, let's see, let's get rid of that. All right. Mm, So, a little Power BI will take a look at some COVID-19 numbers by country and by continent. I think what's going to happen here today. SQL Server. Okay. So what we found, what I found out was, in order to use some of the COVID-19 transform, in order to use some of the quick measure buttons, you have to use the original date field. Apply changes. So we're going to do we're going to turn on the time functions, and this will give us a mini hierarchy for dates. Okay, as you can see here, there's a date, but there's nothing associated with it. Let's come over here to someplace. Oh, over here, options, options. Now I see our data hierarchy, okay? All right, so let's come over here, see if there's anything we need to work out over here. We got continents. Okay, let's see some home. Okay, so we're going to look at two measures here. Let's come back over here, over here. Okay, so there are several ways you can compare countries using population and COVID-19 cases. One way is to calculate the case rate, which is the number of cases per 100,000 people. This can help you compare countries with different population sizes by normalizing the data and making it easier to compare severity of the outbreak in each country. Now, to calculate the case rate, you can divide the number of cases in a country by the population the country has. That'd be called cases per capita, and then multiply the result by 100,000. Okay. Another way to compare the countries is to look at the percentage of the population that has had COVID-19. This can be calculated by dividing the number of cases in a country by the population of that country and multiplying by 100. Okay, so that's what we're going to do over here now. We're going to create them two variables. Let's see. Okay, we're going to create a couple quick measures. That's not what we're looking for there. Let's try this again. Let's look for new measure. We're going to call this, that's not what we're actually looking for either. I thought we did that. So, so new cases divided by population. base rate. Okay, can we copy this? Let's go over here. Okay, let's take a look at this. Yeah, well, what we want to do now, let's do a quick slicer. And we want to put continent down here. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Now what happens if we do up? Okay, so this is by quarter. Very nice. One more. Uh, okay. Let's create a slicer country. Yes. Hang on a second. We're right there. What? Well, that doesn't look the same to me. Okay, that doesn't look the same to me. Okay, what happens if we got rid of? That doesn't look the same. Uh, let's just do a divide. Okay, get rid of all this, right? And get rid of this. Uh, okay, okay. Come back up here. New measure. Divide. Hmm. Okay. Now, it seems like I did something over here, but it didn't work. Okay, good. Okay, new cases, comma. Okay, let's add another custom column in. Okay, so there's two. So let's just come back over. Let's just do this: home, close, and apply. Okay, so let's come back over here now. Do this. Let's just put the date hierarchy on the x-axis and cache rate on the y-axis. Then let's do, again, date hierarchy. In this case, cases per capita. Okay, very good. Hey, Augustine, how you doing, friend? How come you're not out partying right now? Hmm? uh, I'm just sort of winding up my year here in Central Ohio in the U.S. with a little bit of. So where are you in the world? Let us see some here. Nigeria. What time is it there? 4:40 a.m. or p.m. So we're going to come over here. We're going to take this. So what are you celebrating the new year or something like that? Is that why you haven't gone to bed? So let's make this style drop down also. Okay. Yeah, here in Central Ohio, in the U.S., it's about 10:41 p.m. So so is it January 1st in Nigeria yet? Have you already celebrated your New Year's last night, or so it's New Year's Day? So what this is here, this is some basic, not very pretty work, but yeah, you get the picture. It's some basic look at. Okay, good. So I got another like hour and 45 minutes to go. So I thought I'd wind up my year doing a little bit of data analytics. What you see here is this is COVID-19 data, and but rather than just straight cases here, we got what's called the case rate. Okay, which is where you divide the number of daily cases by the population and multiply it by 100,000. Okay, multiply it by 100,000. All right, and this done here would be the cases per capita, which is new cases divided by uh, population multiplied by 100. Okay, we could come down here. Nigeria. Well, so Nigeria's numbers are a little bit uh, are a little bit on the hmm. So apparently, well, if these numbers are, if we can actually trust your government's COVID-19 numbers, you guys had a long period there. You basically had no cases. Okay, and there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can create a measure over here. Okay, or you can come over here and create a custom column, which is what I did over here. Okay, for cases. All right. So we could do the same things for deaths. We can say let's go home. Where do we want to be? Let's edit the query. All right. Let's add a column. We're going to add death rates and deaths per capita. All right. So we're going to say custom column. All right. And we're going to say divide. Okay. And we're going to say new deaths, comma, population. All right. We're going to multiply that by 100,000. Okay. And that gives us our death rate. Now, the advantage apparently to, as you may know, to use and see a divide where the simple divide symbol is that this this divide function here can overlook division by zero errors. Okay. So therefore, if we run into a division by zero, that's not going to error out. We'll still get the numbers here. Death rate. Okay. One more custom column. Right. Per capita. All right. And again, we're going to say divide, comma, population. This would actually return a. This is going to return us let's change this to fixed decimals and fixed decimals. Okay, let's go. Let's go and save this little project here. Let's go up. All right. Now, as you so what are you a you just happen to be so how did you find me on YouTube? How did you manage to come across my channels? Am I one of the few live ones on right now? Do close and apply. Come up here. Okay, so you came across my channel that way. Oh, very good, very good. Did you do the cyclistic bike share? Okay, good. So I guess you found some of my videos helpful then? So let's look at, I'm glad to hear that. It's good news. Yeah. So what's your background? Do you have a college degree? Let's do death rate. Okay. Let's come down here and do one more. again. Okay, very good. Well, you should be in a pretty good position to get a job, I would think. But you have that. Statistics is a very good skill to have. Uh, and Okay. So have you landed a job in data analytics or statistics yet? Let's put a slicer up here first for continent. Okay. Okay. All right. That's one way to approach it. Let's just make all these here drop down list. All right. Okay. 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 So we see some crazy volatility here. Let's do one more slicer for year. Okay. Let's take a look at these numbers here. Basically, what we see is okay. Guess we don't want that to be dollars, do we? Now, the death rate per capita should be a percentage, right? Cases per capita should be a percentage. And this should just be numbers. So are you currently working? As you can see, there's quite a bit of volatility here. Okay. Low job. Huh. That sounds like a plan. Now, let's say, let's come over here. Y-axis values. Okay. All right. So you can see right now in the U.S. Well, these are, of course, quarterly numbers, interestingly enough. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I I actually started taking a course online on Fortran programming, which is a this is a very old language and is still used in like engineering and science environments. Okay. What is one campus? I'm not sure what that is. Now, there's a couple of ways to do a moving average, which of course is a fairly common metric. Uh, if you're using the built-in date functions as part of Power BI, then you can use a quick measure to calculate moving averages. Okay, that's one way to approach it. Or you can if you get tricky with it, you can use it. You can create the formula by hand using DAX. Uh, that'll work with any form of date table you have. Because a lot of times, if you look into Power BI and stuff like that, you'll see that you actually have a separate date table, which contains various forms of data. You have the date, and it may have the year, the month, and so forth, or the day of the week, or something like that. Okay, one campus. Let's take a look here, see what this really is. Hmm. Okay, boot camps. Huh, that looks promising. Huh, interesting. Now, let's say we just wanted to plot. No, I don't. No, I don't. Uh, although, does that have to do with finances? Or to Quant University? Hmm. Mm-hmm. And structured guided projects offer students two-way focused learning experience, develop the skills to build a professional portfolio. You got to pass the admissions quiz. You got this one covered. How are your Python? Have you done anything with Python yet? Okay, very good, very good. Have you taken the quiz, the test yet? The admissions test? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do date hierarchy, and let's do new cases. Oh, excellent, excellent, very good. Date, days, period before, period after. Let's say 14. Okay, what we've done here is we've added the 12-day moving average for uh, for daily cases. All this is given as quarterly cases. Let's just do a slicer here. So for the 12-day 14 average, the U.S. is the North America is still at 70,734 cases on average. Huh. Okay. So what have you done during the first four modules? What type of projects have you done during the first four modules? Let me check the Ohio State, the Peach Bowl score. What's the score of the Peach Bowl? Currently, Ohio State is leading Georgia 38-24 in the fourth quarter. Good old man. Come on, Bucks. Come on, Bucks. Regression time series decision tree, MongoDB, SQL. SQL is a very good skill to have. Chances are, on your first start, you're probably going to use SQL and something else. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of MongoDB. I prefer a nice structured database with fixed data types and stuff, with columns with fixed data types in them. The time series is interesting. Okay, so what software have you used so far? Have you used like Power BI or Tabular or Excel or what have you used so far for your projects here? Python. Okay, very good. Very good. As far as SQL, what database did you use for your SQL? SQLite 3. Okay. Okay. Hmm. You probably want to look at something else like SQL Server or even Postgres or MySQL or something like that. You probably want to look at something that's more of a client server database. I mean, the you probably realize that most SQL databases share a common core language. Most everything you know about SQLite 3, you can also will work on other SQL databases. Okay. Yeah. Of course, there's lots of free videos on YouTube to learn SQL with, to learn SQL Server and stuff like that. I'll give you one web page I use all the time for my SQL. You can bookmark that page. You can see what the nice thing about that page here is it gives you command summaries for all these different databases here. Like I said, and I use it all the time. Commitment 10 to 15 hours a week. Python. Length. So does this mean the whole program is only 16 weeks or like 16 weeks per module or something like that? Okay, for the whole program then? I'll be right back. I'll give me some more to drink. So you had 4 modules so far, and do you have 4 more modules to go then? Hmm. Maybe I should take a look at that. What's the application look like? Hopefully it's not too tricky. Start my New Year flight by taking some more courses, right? Birthday, month. What, the quiz? States. Choose a username and a password. Must contain at least 12 characters. How many characters are there? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know. How's that? Yeah, I've read everything, right? What's this? Well, that could be a problem. If it requires, Your birthday, huh? How's that? We believe that the best way to learn new skills is by putting it into a practice in real world settings. In our program, you will complete a series of projects where you will solve problems. So how is the support? Do the instructors are they pretty responsive to your questions and stuff like that? In the program, you will complete data scientists face every day using real world. Our program is flexible and self-paced, whether you are just starting out, housing in Mexico, and the projects that follow. You work on apartment prices in Buenos Aires, Argentina, air quality in Nairobi, and so forth. Continue. Before we can start the lab, you need to take a short quiz. Okay. Most applicants complete the quiz in 10 to 20 minutes. The minimum passing grade is the time limit is 60. Let's see. How would you complete the print function so that it returns read? Well, let's see. One, two, three, four, five. So it's going to start with five, six, seven, eight, nine. I'm going to say five and nine. What do you think? What is what is the mean of my list? I don't know. Off the top of my head, let's see. So it's 3 plus 4. Oops. Oops. 4 plus 5 plus 10 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 10, right? 15, 25 divided by 5 should be 5, right? What is the slope of the line in this plot? That's probably not right. Let's see. What is the value of y in this equation? Okay. It's 15. 4 squared is 16, right? So 15 plus 16. 15 plus 16. Which vertical line represents the median in the plot? Not the mean, the median. I'm going to say C. So what do you think? Am I going to pass the test or not? What is the output of this code? That's an interesting question. Does the index start with 0 or does it start with 1? I'm going to say, hold on. Which of these answers would add a key pair value to the capital? Which of these distributions has a standard largest standard deviation? Oh man, I knew I should have taken statistics when I was a lot younger. Has the largest standard deviation. I don't know. I'm going to say D. I'm going to make a stab at I'm probably not doing very well at this quiz because the standard deviation is the difference between mean and something else, right? Two. Okay. Yeah, I barely survived algebra one, 40 years ago when I was in high school. What do you do? Equals 52. Let's see. 15 over 20. Let's see if have you looked at that chat GBT yet? The AI thing. 2.5. Interesting. I don't know. But that's not the answer. We don't have a 2.5 answer. Yeah, because 2 divided by 5 would be 2.5 in it. Interesting. Let's see. What is the probability that the country would be located in Europe? One, two. 2 out of 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 2 countries out of 6. Sure. how, how did I? Is it possible to fail this quiz? I wonder. Because most of them statistical problems, there's no way I knew the right answer to those stuff. Most interesting, huh? David Jackson, username, time zone. Huh. I'm retired. Industry is what? So what am I missing up here? What do I keep forgetting to fill in up here? America, how's that? Huh? Housing in Mexico. That's interesting. It's an oil company. Hmm. So what do you think? Should we look at this? Thank you. Each project consists of 4 lessons and 1 assignment. You'll work through the lessons at your own pace, following my code along videos and exchanging ideas with other learners in the forum. Lessons are for experimentation, learning new concepts, and practicing new coding techniques, so they're not graded. In the assignment, you'll demonstrate that you can successfully apply what you've learned. Let's see, learned in the lessons in a, to a new data set. The assignment is graded, and you can attempt it multiple times. Once you complete it, you'll automatically be enrolled in the next project. If you need more practice, there are links to each lesson in the lesson to DS textbook. There you'll find additional explanations, practice exercise, and links to external resources. The lessons, assignments, and textbook live on a virtual machine that comes preloaded with all software you'll need to complete the project. You can access it by clicking on the project area below. Project 1 4. 15 minutes to 3. In this project, you'll work with data sets with 21,000 properties for sale in Mexico through a real estate website, something.com. Your goal is to determine whether sales prices are influenced more by property size or location. Hmm. How to organize information using basic Python data structures, how to import data from CSV files and clean it using the Pandas library, how to create data visualizations like scatter plots and block plots, and how to examine the relationship between two variables using correlation. Okay. If you get stuck on or have a questions, click on the Q&A tab above and post a comment. The instructor and your fellow students will be able to help. Here are some good writing. Here's some good tips for writing good forum posts.
When you have a problem, all right, the first thing that you want to do is to get an answer. I totally understand that impulse, but I would encourage you, instead of jumping into writing your issue, I would start here at the top of your the forum window where there is a little search bar. And what you can do in this search bar is, well, search for your issue. So for example, say you're having an issue with task, you're in project 5, you have task 549. What I might do is I might search for 549, and you'll see that there are several both previous posts and also comments on those posts. So this is a great way to let folks know, or rather to see what's been done previously. So my first piece of advice is when you come to the forum,
Okay, hang on one second. I'll be back here in just one moment.
Start with that search bar. What do you think, Ricky? Did I cover that first part okay?
Yeah, that was great. I mean, that's how Slack works, right? You just come on Slack, you search to see if you have a question, and not Slack, Stack Overflow.
Stack Overflow, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Most of us got educated through Stack Overflow.
Me, yeah, all of us. I think all of us, right? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So
one of the etiquettes is, okay, search if your issue has been tackled. And I've rarely had to put a new query. Somebody must have asked it over the years that Stack Overflow has been online.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the first thing, is always make sure that you are searching before you dive into your question. And then the second thing that I want to encourage folks to do is the way you write your question or raise your issue is going to make it a lot easier or harder for your instructors and your fellow students to be able to when you have a problem, all right, the first thing that you want to do is to get an answer. I totally understand that impulse, but I would encourage you, instead of jumping into writing your issue, I would start here at the top of your the forum window where there is a little search bar. And what you can do in this search bar is, well, search for your issue. So for example, say you're having an issue with task, you're in project 5, you have task 549. What I might do is I might search for 549, and you'll see that there are several both previous posts and also comments on those posts. So this is a great way to let folks know, or rather to see what's been done previously. So my first piece of advice is when you come to the forum, start with that search bar. What do you think, Ricky? Did I cover that first part okay?
Yeah, that was great. I mean, that's how Slack works, right? You just come on Slack, you search to see if you have a question, and not Slack, Stack Overflow.
Stack Overflow, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Most of us got educated through Stack Overflow.
Yeah, all of us. I think all of us, right? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
one of the etiquettes is, okay, search if your issue has been tackled, and I've rarely had to put a new query. Somebody must have asked it over the years that Stack Overflow has been online.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the first thing, is always make sure that you are searching before you dive into your question. And then the second thing that I want to encourage folks to do is the way you write your question or raise your issue is going to make it a lot easier or harder for your instructors and your fellow students to be able to help. So let me give you a few tips for writing a good forum post, both in the moment that you need the help, but also for the people who come after you and are going to be using the knowledge that you're building to also help themselves. So a few things here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. Yeah, let me zoom in. Actually, one second. Let me just clear. There we go. So the first thing that I want to point out is right here at the top is
okay. Did you see where Stack Overflow isn't going to allow people to use that chat GDP AI thing to answer questions? Kind of an interesting side note there. No, honestly, I've never been a big fan of Stack Overflow because it could be, simply put, they could be real jerks sometimes. They don't like your question, they don't like the way it's stated, they won't answer, or they'll try to rewrite it. So it's I'm not a big fan of Stack Overflow. But I have a hunch it'll be interesting to look at the number of posts on for Stack Overflow and see if they started to decline now that that chat AI program's available. But anyway,
making sure that when you write a post, and by the way, we're looking at Pedro's question, but this could be any question in the forum. So the first thing that Pedro did is that they gave a very strong title, which indicates where the problem is. So Pedro mentioned the actual task number, and that's a big, big help. The other thing that I might also do is you might provide a little concise bit of the title as to what's happening. For example, we can see here that it's actually hard for you guys to see because the text is so small, is Pedro is getting a value error. So maybe doing task 549 value error might be a good way to alert your instructor and then also the people who come after you as to what the issue is. So that's my first tip. Always put a very clear title, and especially it's a good idea to or the lesson notebook so you can quickly identify where the issue is. Okay, so I'm going to scroll out here. I'm going to go to the discussion, and I want to scroll down. Oh, here's another thing that I want to point out. Actually, I'll come back to that. So, no, I'll have to do it now. The other thing is if you go up here to the sort, all right, at the top of the forum post, there's this sort button, and you can sort by either oldest post first, newest post first, most popular, or least popular. I encourage folks, what I always do, because I'm looking for the new issues, is I always do newest first. But for you guys, it probably won't make much of a difference. You can search. but this is a good way to kind of see what the latest news is. For example, if one of your instructors makes an announcement. The next thing, going back to, let's select another post here. And this is Gwyneth's post. And Gwyneth did a really tremendous job in providing as much context as possible with what was happening with her notebook. So if I can scroll, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on here. But Gwyneth took the time to take screenshots of her code. She also mentioned her task number. And then the great thing is she takes the time to go step by step explaining what it is she's trying to do and what it is she thinks is happening, and specifically what is the error that she's getting. So in addition to giving your post a really strong title, it's important to explain what it is you're trying to do, all right? What is the kind of code you're putting in? What is the error you're getting? And what do you think is happening? Because sometimes even in just the process of trying to explain what you think is happening, you can even figure out what's happening, right? Just by explaining, you can help yourself out. So those are my big tips. 1, use the search bar. 2, give your post a really strong title, including perhaps the task number and the type of error you're getting. And then 3, provide a lot of context, both what you're trying to do, the code you're using, what error you're getting, and finally, what you think is happening. All right. And if you follow all of my advice, I bet, first of all, 30% of the time, you'll figure out the problem before you actually post the comment. But also, you'll be able to get an answer much quicker. And even better, you'll be helping all of your fellow students. You know, one thing that we really say is important here in WorldQuant is that in the data science lab, is that everyone is a teacher and everyone is a student, right? So the way that you write these questions is an incredibly important teaching tool. It's something that you're doing to help improve the program and help teach your fellow learners. So I encourage you guys to use the forum thinking with that mindset, with that in mind. Do you think there are other questions that students have?
No, I think helping them to do the right thing would make it easier for them. Like sometimes somebody just tells you tax 4.2.3. What do I do? I'm getting errors. And then he or she, they just stop there.
Yeah.
So yeah, students putting everything into context for us is going to help us to answer their questions faster. Because sometimes when I go through all the questions I see, I try to answer the ones that are easier to tackle first before I go to the ones that I'm like, okay, let me think through what does he really want?
Sure.
What does she mean by saying that? So making it more explicit, you just go boom, 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 and you're done.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. So help us make our job easier, guys.
Yeah, help us make our job easier.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Augustine, did you do any Python programming before you took this course? All right, let's take an introduction to virtual machine.
Hi there. My name's Nicholas, and welcome to the Data Science Lab. I'm very excited you're here, and I hope you are too. And I hope you're ready to dive into some messy data, some fun projects, and some great coding challenges. The Data Science Lab is divided into small projects. And for most of the work you do in these
Were you self-taught, or did you learn it as part of your degree program? Yeah, I've been doing Okay, very good. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I've actually been doing R program for like 5 or 6 years now. I was already doing R program before I even took the Google course. So my background's is R and SQL basically.
Projects you're going to be using.
Let's close this. See. Okay, let's see what this rascal
A virtual machine, basically a computer that we've created for you. And so I made this video as kind of an orientation to get you started, to show you the ropes of those computers so that you can dive in and start doing your work. So let's go over to the website and I can show you what I mean. When you're first enrolled in a project, you'll see it here in My Path. So for example, we can see that we need to start the first project, which is housing in Mexico. So I'll click on Go to Course, and the first thing you'll see is an overview of the project, and since this is the first project in the lab, you're going to see an overview of the whole enterprise. Once you've read through this, you'll want to click on Project to get started. It's right here. And now you can see that I'm on the landing page for this course. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there are two parts. Part 1 is a summary of what you're going to learn in this course, and that's right here. And then Part 2 is a link to go to the virtual machine. And that's right here. So I'll click on Go to Project. And on this page, again, you'll see two things. First, you'll see your progress on the project. And right now, I haven't started, so there's nothing there yet. But as you work through that final assignment at the end of the lessons, this...
Do you have a profile on LinkedIn or a resume on... Hey, Mark, how you doing? I remember talking to Augustine about the One Campus or the World Quant University online course. Yep, the new year is now 4 minutes old, which means I'm also 4 minutes older than I was 4 minutes ago. But yeah, so we're looking at this. I signed up for this online data science track on what's called World Quant University. I think it's part of the One Campus network or something like that. Augustine is is halfway through the course. It consists of 8 modules, which is kind of interesting. But that's kind of like the way. Yes, it's free. It's free. I mean, the application is no big deal. You take a quiz, but if I can pass the quiz, then you can pass the quiz. You know. But yeah, so I'm looking at some introductory material now. It's all online. 8 modules, I think, numerous. Yeah, but Augustine has a degree in statistics. He has a Google Data Analytics certification. Now he's working on this World Quant University. Let me see something here. Here's a link. Okay.
This is where you'll see your scores accumulating. And then the second piece is a button where you can open your virtual machine, and that's right here. So let's fire up that virtual machine and see what happens. Now, the first time you fire up your machine, the first time you start up your machine, if you're just starting the project, it will take a couple minutes because there's a lot of software that we got to put into that machine. So just be patient. Good things come to those who wait, right?
Andrew Nancourt, I know that name. I know that name.
When your machine boots up, this is what it will look like. And there's a lot here, so let's go piece by piece. The first thing I want to draw your attention to are the tab icons on the upper left side of your browser. Right here.
Okay.
Right now, the tab that we have selected is the File Picker. With that little file icon. And what that means is that everything in this panel are the folders and files that are on your virtual machine. Let me make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. Right now, we're in a folder called 010 Housing in Mexico. And that's the name of the first project. And if I move this tab over here a little bit, and you can see that there are 5 files with the extension IPYNB. That means Interactive Python Notebook.
It does, yes.
The first 4 are the 4 lessons that you complete in order to practice for doing the assignment. And they're numbered. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last notebook, assignment, that's the thing you need to complete in order to complete the project and then be automatically enrolled in the next project. Now there's one other thing I want to show you here in the file picker. If I go to the parent directory, which in this case is called work, you can see that there are a bunch of folders. And each of these folders corresponds to one of the projects. So here are the first 4 projects. 1, 2, 3, 4. The top folder, the one called textbook, that's a special one. Let me show you what it's about. So if I open it, and you'll see a whole bunch of files, and think of each of these files as kind of a chapter in a textbook. The information and activities here are optional, and they're there if you want additional practice and information.
Well, Mark, did you behave yourself this New Year's Eve?
On the things that we're doing in the projects. We have a good sense of how the file picker works. Let's open up one of these notebooks and see how that works. I'm going to just make this menu smaller again, this panel smaller again, so it's not taking up so much size. And I'm going to double click on the first notebook here, Getting Started. When you launch a notebook, you'll notice 2 things. The first is in this big old center panel, the notebook will appear. And specifically, there'll be a bunch of tabs along the top showing you all the notebooks that are open. The other thing you'll notice is that in the file picker, this little dot will appear, which indicates that this notebook has started up. Now, one thing that can happen is if you open up a bunch of notebooks, this panel along the top can get kind of messy. And so if you're ever not sure about what notebooks you have running, what you can do is click on this tab here, the second tab on the left side. And that will tell you which notebooks you have open. Here are the 4 that I've opened up, and I can switch between them. You can also switch between them by clicking along the top here. And then it also shows you which notebooks are currently running, have active kernels. That means they're able to send information, send Python code to the code interpreter and get information back. I mention this because sometimes what can happen is students will open like 30 notebooks, and that will make their machine very, very slow because it's spending all that time, it's spending all those resources, supporting all of those notebooks. And so if that's ever an issue, you can click on the X here next to kernels, and you can shut down those notebooks. And that way you're lightening the load on your computer. All right, let's close some of these notebooks here. It's getting kind of messy. Now we just have one notebook open, and let's look how to navigate and write code and run code within a notebook. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is that your notebook is going to have sections with header titles there. And if you ever want to see an outline of the notebook, that is just the section headers, you can click on this last tab right here, which is the outline tab. And then within the panel, you can navigate through the notebook by clicking on the title headers. Now, in addition to the text that guides you through the notebook, you'll notice there are these gray boxes in the notebook. Like there's one here, there's another one here. These gray cells are computer code. They're Python code. And if you want to run the code in a cell, you first select the cell using your mouse. And you'll know the cell is selected because you'll see a little blue bar next to it. And then you have two options. You can either click on the play button here at the top. So I'll click that. Or, and I'll do this in the cell below, you can select the cell and then on your keyboard, hit Shift and Enter. So Shift and Enter. You'll know that a cell is run if you see a little number in square braces next to it. So we can see that this is the first cell that we've run, and then this is the second cell that we run. And then down below, you'll see output. So here's the output from the first cell, 1 + 1 = 2. And here's the second one, 2 - 1 is 1. So you send input into the Python interpreter by running a cell, and then you receive output back. Another thing you can do is create your own cells. So if I select this first cell, then I'm going to click this plus button along the top. And you can see a new code cell is created below the one I had selected. And let's put a little code in here. Let's do print welcome to the course, and I'll hit Shift and Enter. And we can see there is my status printed to the console. Generally speaking, a completed notebook should run without errors all the way from the top to the bottom with the code cells in order. But you don't necessarily need to run those code cells in order. For example, you can see here, this is the first cell that I ran, and then I have the third one I ran, and that's because I made it after this one, the second one that I ran. So you can run these cells out of order. Now, that can sometimes get you into trouble. And so if you're finding that you have errors in your notebook, a really useful tool is to go up to the kernel in the menu and select Restart Kernel and clear all outputs. And that restarts the Python interpreter. And then I can run these cells in order. So 1, 2, and 3. So when in doubt, restart your kernel and clear output. All right, one last thing I want to show you. I'm going to go back to the folder where the lesson notebooks for our first project are stored. So first I'll click on the file picker. Then I'll click on the work directory. And then I'll click on the housing directory. And last but not least, I'll open up the first lesson in the project. The reason I wanted to show you this notebook is because notebooks don't only have text, they don't only have computer code, we've also put in videos for you as well. To get those videos to run, the first thing I need to do is to run the first cell in the notebook, the one that says IPython display. So I'll highlight that and then hit play.
Okay,
After you've done that, anytime you
I'd suggest you go through the program itself if you're familiar with Jupyter. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with Jupyter. I've used it, similar things on. I use VS Code for Python on here, but yeah, I've done like Kaggle notebooks and stuff. Yeah.
see a cell that says Vimeo video, you can run that cell and a video will appear. These videos will help guide you through the tasks. So feel free to watch them, not watch them, stop and play. They're there as a support to you. Okay, let's do a quick summary of what we've learned. Starting on the left side of the screen, remember that we have these tabs. The first tab is the file picker. The second is to see what notebooks are open and what notebooks have a running kernel. And then the one at the very bottom is for seeing the outline of a given notebook, the notebook that you have open. In addition, you also have this tab along the top, which shows you what notebooks you have open. Within a notebook, you can run a code cell by highlighting it and then either pressing the play button or by hitting Shift-Enter on your keyboard. And if you ever find that you're having errors in your machine, you can go up to Kernel and then restart and clear outputs. That's it for the virtual machine orientation. I hope it was helpful, and I'm looking forward to seeing your progress in this project. So good luck, happy data science, and happy coding. Bye-bye.
Oh, hey. Okay, let's open a virtual machine. Oh, okay. You could send it through Facebook Messenger that way if you like.
Hi there. My name's Nicholas, and welcome to the Data Science Lab. I'm very excited you're here, and I hope you are too. And I hope you're ready to dive into some messy data, some fun projects, and some great coding challenges.
Am I doing this right? Video. This lesson is part of the DS core curriculum. For this reason, this notebook can only be used on virtual machine. This means no downloading notebook, no resharing a notebook with friends or colleagues, no downloading the embedded video, no sharing embedded videos, no adding a notebook to public. Okay, good. So here we go. Tabular data.
Let's begin thinking about the idea of tabular data. So I'm going to scroll down and look at this first.
I'll be right back. Okay. Okay.
First
Let's
image,
talk about
and let's
tabular
just say that we have a data set with 5 different properties in it, 5 different houses. And each of those houses has three characteristics, or we'll call them features. We have the price, we have the number of rooms, and then we also have the area in square meters. Oh, by the way, and price is in US dollars. Now, one thing I want to draw your attention to is the following. Notice that our first house, we're labeling it 0, all right? And this is an important thing to keep in mind when you're working with data structures in Python. Our first item, we always use 0 to refer to our first item. The first question we'll ask ourselves is, how are we going to organize this data set? How are we going to structure it using, our Python skills so that we can perform analyses on this data set? What is the data paradigm we're going to be using? And if I scroll down here, the paradigm that we're going to be using is the idea of tabular data. Now, what do I mean when I say tabular data? Well, let me zoom in here real quick. There we go. Let me get that in the right place. Beautiful. All right. Now, what does tabular data mean? Well, what it means is that each row here, each row is a single house in our data set. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses in our data set. And then for each row, each house, each observation, remember that word, we have 3 columns or 3 features. We have price, we have the number of rooms, and then we have the area of the property in square meters. If you've worked with a spreadsheet before, this is basically a spreadsheet. Although with a big data set, it's going to be a really, really big spreadsheet. It's not going to fit on your screen. Another term you'll hear to refer to this sort of tabular data is also structured data. And what does that mean? Well, that means that we have 5 rows or 5 observations, and each of those observations must have, the way that we are designing this, they must have 3 features or 3 columns associated with them. So if we're missing information in one of these, if we have a house where it doesn't have area, we have to treat that as a missing value. It's like a blank cell. So that's the idea of structured data. Every row has to have an entry for every single column, or every observation has to have every single feature. The other thing that I want you all to keep in mind is that when we've organized our data in this tabular format, all of a sudden we're dealing with rows and columns when we want to do different calculations. For example, let's say that I want to know what the mean price is for the houses in my data set. What I would have to do is I'd have to take this entire column and add all these numbers together and then divide it by the total number of observations. So this would be an example of a column-wise calculation. And when it comes to row-wise calculations, well, for example, I might want to calculate the price per square foot. So I would take the price and I would take the area for every single row and I would divide one by the other. I would just do a little division here. So that would be an example of a row-wise calculation. In short, when you organize data using this tabular paradigm, you have rows or observations, and then you have columns or features. And when you do calculations, you either need to be thinking of, am I doing a calculation column-wise, up and down, or am I doing a calculation row-wise, side to side?
Hey, thanks so much, Mark. Thanks for stopping by and Happy New Year.
Let's begin thinking about the idea of tabular data.
Let's go.
So I'm going to scroll down.
Okay. Frequent question. When I try to run this cell, I get there you go. Information can come in many forms. And part of a data science job is making sure the information is organized in a way that's conducive to analysis. Take, for example, these 5 houses in Mexico. Price, rooms, area. Rows and columns, we know that now. Oh, very important here. When working with this sort of tabular data, it's important to organize rows and columns, find the principles of, wait a minute, tidy data, isn't that an R principle? What does this mean in the case of a data set? Each row corresponds to a single house in a data set. We call these houses an observation. So each row has one observation, and each column corresponds to characteristics of each house. We'll call these features. And each column, in each cell only contains one value. Python comes with several data structures that we can use to organize our tabular data. Let's start by putting a single observation in a list. Price, square feet, and the cost something else, the number of rooms.
We have the core concepts we need to think about tabular data. So the next question is, how do we organize that tabular data using some of the data structures that come built in Python? And the first data structure we're going to be looking at is lists. So let me zoom in here on the old notebook, and we have the first house in our data set, house number 0. And let's just look at this list before we move on here. So we know that this is a list because it's enclosed in these square brackets or square braces or whatever you want to call them. And then we have 1, 2, 3 items, and let's do this with their index positions. This is the item at index position 0, the item at index position 1, and the index position at item 2. So we have those 3 items, and then they're separated by commas. So this is how you organize information in a list. And if I run this cell, I'll just highlight this cell and hit Shift and Enter, and we can see that this has now been saved into memory, and I have this output here in my notebook. Now let's take this idea and bring it down to our first task. What we want to do is we want to calculate the price per square meter of this first property, all right, using some of our list skills. So let me first just highlight all of this code, and I'm going to comment it out. And what I'll start with is, let's start with our house 0 list. There we go. I used tab complete there, by the way. So there is my list. And if I want to get a particular item out from it, the first item I want the price. So I'm going to use square brackets. And then inside those square brackets, I'll use that index position. And I know that this is at index position 0. So I'll put that in and run this cell. And voila, I have the value that I need. And then the next thing that I need to do, let's just do this down below. I have house 0 list. The next item I need is this number of square meters, 128. And that's at index position 1. So let me run that. There it is. Beautiful. And now if I want to calculate the price per square meter, I'll just take that number of square meters and just divide. So I'm dividing the price of the house by the number of square meters. I'll run that, and I get 905. Beautiful. Now I'm feeling confident. I'm going to uncomment out this code. And I'll take what I've written, and I will paste it here and assign it to the variable house 0 price square meters. And then I'll run this cell, and voila, we have our price per square meters for our first house using a list.
I tell you what, Augustine, I'm going to go and call it a night. You're up much later. Of course, you're just getting your day started, but mine's wrapping up. Happy New Year! Thanks so much for stopping by, Augustine. Hey, thanks so much for putting me onto this a World Quant University free courses. Thanks, I appreciate that very much. Okay, catch you guys hopefully tomorrow Sunday. Yeah, I'll probably be streaming Sunday evening about 8 p.m. Eastern time, New York time. Okay. Again, thanks so much, Quant. Thanks so much, Mark. We'll catch you guys in hopefully very shortly.